This story happened 3 years ago. I was taking a road trip to the East Coast with a couple of my friends, Darren and Eddie. We were about halfway there, and were going to be staying in a hotel in a small town that we were pretty unfamiliar with. We got to the town a little bit early and put our things in the hotel. We had been cooped up all day in the car, so we wanted to go do something that was nearby. Unfortunately, like I mentioned before, the city we were in was very small and didn't really have much. We decided to walk from our hotel down the road a little bit and explore. By this time, it was probably about 7 p.m. or so. As we walked down the sidewalk, we saw several businesses that were abandoned, and the overall feelings of the town that I was getting were sort of creepy. We then came up on a mini golf course place. It looked like a fun little course, and we all wanted to play, so we went inside. The place seemed open, but also kind of run down. When we went to the little front desk area that had a little window for someone to sit in, there was nobody there. We all kind of walked inside and looked around. There were putters and balls just inside the window that we could reach, and the course seemed playable. However, we couldn't see anybody on the course at all. It was completely empty, so we decided to just start playing, and we all took balls and putters. We played the first few holes, and on about the third, we heard a distinct noise of a door being closed. We all assumed whoever was supposed to be working had come back. I didn't want them to get mad at us for playing the course for free, so I walked over towards the window. When I got inside of it, however, there was still nobody inside of it that I could see. I shrugged and went back to my friends. We continued on the course. I could see that there were several overgrown bushes and trees that hung over it. It gave the course even more of a sort of creepy feeling to it. As I was about to hit a putt, I heard a noise from just beyond the hole, coming from a bush. I asked my friends if they had heard that. We all paused and listened to what it could be. The noise sounded like movement just inside the bush, but we couldn't see anything. After a few moments of silence, we heard the noise go deeper and far away. We thought about just going back at that point because we were all kind of creeped out, but we decided to keep playing. I remember we were only on hole 10, and Eddie had just hit his putt when we once again heard noises. This time we all turned around at once and looked a few holes behind us. We saw a man about 30 feet away or so. By this time, the sun had set and it was getting darker, but we could clearly see it was a man. He was wearing a black jacket and a black baseball cap and was holding a camera pointed at us. He seemed to be taking our photo, but he sort of crouched behind a large rock that was part of the golf course. It was strange because the rock obviously wasn't hiding him, but he still went behind it. He then started walking towards us, all while continuing to point the camera at us as if he was taking photos. There was a little path that went to the exit of the course nearby, and Darren was the first to sprint towards it. Me and Eddie followed right after him. We ended up running back to our hotel and going inside for the rest of the night. When we were back at the room, we looked up the golf course online to see that it had been closed 2 years prior. It has been a mystery to us why some guy was taking pictures of us on that course. The whole thing gave me the creeps. A few years ago, I got really into golf. Since then, I've been going to many different courses in my area and playing. Last summer, I went to a place that was about 15 minutes away from my house. I hadn't been to that area much, but one of my friends told me that it was a pretty decent course. When I got there, I saw that it was. It had lots of green grass, several wooded areas between some of the holes, and overall looked really nice. The woods made for a really cool look, but I also lost a few balls in it, I'm not going to lie. On the 5th hole, I made it to the green and walked over to it. I went to get my putter, and as I was, I heard a noise coming from inside the woods. I looked and saw a guy a few feet deep in the woods. I couldn't tell what he was doing. He then walked out of the woods, and when he saw me, he looked a little startled. He just walked to the side of the course, though, and quickly walked away. It was a strange encounter, but I really thought nothing of it. I played the entire rest of the course, and then went back to the parking lot. It really wasn't all that busy, just a few cars were parked in the lot. I put my clubs in the back of my car, then got inside and started to drive home. As I began driving, I noticed a car that was parked at the other end of the parking lot started to drive as well. We both left and merged onto the road. Most of the roads I took home were pretty quiet and not all that busy, so after about the 5th turn I made, I noticed the truck was still directly behind me. When I realized this, I thought maybe whoever was driving it lived in my neighborhood. When I got to a stoplight, I looked in my mirror to the truck to see if it was somebody that I knew. When I looked, I recognized the man that I saw driving, but it took me a minute to remember where I had seen him. I finally realized it was the guy I had seen come out of the woods at the golf course. He seemed to notice me looking at him in the mirror, and he looked away to the side. I kept driving home, and he remained behind me. I honestly didn't think he was following me at all, until I turned onto my road and he did as well. I had never seen him before, and I knew most of my neighbors. I still wasn't all that concerned and drove closer to my driveway, but as I did, I noticed how close the truck was following me, so I moved a bit over to let him pass. Instead of passing me though, he continued to follow. I decided at the last moment not to pull into my driveway, but to continue to drive slowly past a few more houses and then speed back up. I kept driving down the street until it came to another one. From that point, I basically just began taking turns left and right, hoping that the truck would eventually stop following me. It took about 10 minutes of that, but the truck finally did drive away. I was very relieved and quickly drove home. I can't think of why he wanted to follow me home, or why he was hiding in the woods. I guess I may never know. This story was the most bizarre thing to ever happen to me. It took place 3 years ago in the summer. I went to a golf course by myself. Normally, I would go with friends, but I was really into golf, and I wanted to play around by myself for practice. It was at a course a little ways up north from my house. The course was known for being very old and also very good. I played the first 9 holes and was having one of my better games. On the 10th one, I hit my first shot, and the ball got pretty close to the green. It was maybe about 50 feet away. I got out my club and hit it onto the green. It was a good shot, and it landed on the green and began rolling. It made it within about 10 feet of the hole, and I was really happy with it. This hole was backed up to a woods that was on the edge of the course, and not long after the ball had stopped rolling, I saw a man come running out from the woods and take my ball. At first, I thought it was a kid pulling a prank. I had seen people do stuff like that on videos before. I was annoyed, but I didn't mind it all that much. I started to run towards him, but the way the man was running was really strange. I really don't know how to describe it, except just that I had never seen anyone run like that before. Then he went just inside the woods and literally ran up a tree. He ran or climbed and was about 20 feet up the tree within about 5 seconds. I was stunned at what I had just witnessed. I sprinted over and went just inside the woods. I looked up the tree, but the guy was just gone. I ended up going in the woods a little and looking all around, even calling out to him, but I got nothing. I was really shocked, to say the least. It took me a few minutes, but I finally got out another ball and finished my game. To this day, I have never seen anything so strange.